The same perfectionistic mindset that pushes you to succeed in some areas of your life is the same mindset that keeps you stuck when it comes to your health. Welcome to Talkin' Shit, the podcast where we get real about the unfiltered truths women face in the quest for perfection. I'm Jana, your host, a dietitian and fellow woman navigating the pressure to have it all together, the perfect body, career, relationships, and making it all look effortless. Who set that standard anyway? Here, we're calling out the diet fads, hustle culture, beauty standards, and everything else that keeps us feeling stuck. But we're not just venting, we're diving into how to break free and rewrite the rules on your terms. So grab a coffee or a glass of wine and let's talk some shit. Together, we'll uncover how to live a life that's unapologetically yours. This is Talkin' Shit. Let's dive in. Today, I want to talk about something that I see all the time in my practice. And honestly, it's something that I've lived through myself and continue to recover from. That is the idea of being perfect. And we're going to talk about how this idea of thinking that you need to be perfect leads you to turning to food and likely probably not feeling successful in that area. So we're going to talk about why the perfectionist in you keeps turning to food, even when you say like you don't want to, and why you can't seem to stay consistent with the diet no matter how much you want it. So if this feels like your story, stick with me, because by the end of this episode, you'll have a much clearer picture of what's actually going on and what to do instead. So if you've been tuning in, I previously did an episode on the people pleaser. And today we're going to talk much more about the perfectionist that can be in many of the women that I work with, or maybe it's in you too that is tuning in. So let's start by talking about the perfectionist mindset itself, because that's really where it originates and where it can throw us off from being successful when it comes to our diet plan or losing weight or just our health in general, with staying consistent with the goals that we want to achieve for ourselves. Hey friend, quick question before we dive into today's episode. Does dinner stress you out more than it should? Because if you're like most women I talk to, figuring out what to make every single night feels like another full-time job. So if you're tired of the daily what's for dinner stress, I've got something just for you. I've created the What's for Dinner guide with 50 quick, healthy, and blood sugar friendly recipes that are perfect whether you're cooking for yourself or your whole family. No more second guessing, no more last minute takeout, just real food made simple. Grab your copy for just $9, click the link in the show notes, and make dinner the easiest part of your day. All right, now I'm back to the episode. But seriously, don't wait. Your weeknight sanity will thank you. So if you're a perfectionist, you're probably really, really good at following the rules. You love structure. You love checking the boxes and doing things right. And you thrive on those gold stars. So dieting, it feels like it really should be a perfect fit, right? Like you get a clear plan, you have clear rules, you have all the things that you need in order to execute. And maybe you do for a few days, but here's the problem with diets. Diets are rigid and life is not. And that's typically what diets forget about, or what we forget about as perfectionists as well, is yes, you can have the plan, but does the plan actually work for real life? So life throws you a curveball, as it always will. The kids get sick, your boss calls it a last minute meeting, your girlfriends invite you out to happy hour, or maybe you forget to meal prep for the weekend. And you say, slip up. And that perfectionist voice in your head starts chiming in, well, you already blew it. You might as well just finish off the whole pizza. Or you're such a failure. You'll never get this right anyways. So why even try? And just like that, you feel like you're back at square one. So now let's talk a little bit about why perfectionists so often turn to food in the first place. So many women that I work with, they share with me that they feel like they can get their life in order or get their shit together in all these other areas of their life. But when it comes to food, they feel like they're a complete failure. And that's because the food becomes an area where we think we have control over it until we suddenly don't. So think about it. You really hold yourself to these impossible standards, likely if you're a perfectionist, at home, at work, with your kids, in other relationships, and you're constantly trying to excel and perform and keep it all together and be everything for everyone. That level of pressure, though, is exhausting, and eventually it has to come out somewhere. So, food can become that outlet. It comforts you when you feel overwhelmed. It gives you a quick dopamine, feel better hit when you feel burned out, or it feels like a reward for holding it all together all day. But here's the irony of this: the same perfectionistic mindset that pushes you to succeed in some areas of your life is the same mindset that keeps you stuck when it comes to your health, because it creates this all or nothing way of thinking. You're either all in and you're perfect and doing all the things, or you're all out and you feel like a complete failure. And at either extreme, you can never really win, because perfectionism is impossible to sustain. So I always like to break it to my coaching clients: you're not perfect, you're human. So we are going to treat you like a human, not like someone that's perfect. So why we do this is because the second you slip up, like, we want to start breaking that pattern that you think that you have to be perfect in order to get it right, in order to see the results that you're looking for. Because the second you slip up, even just for a little, it feels like you've already failed. And that feeling of failure, that actually drives you to go back to food. It becomes that F it mentality, right? Like, where you just say, you throw up your hands and you say, screw it, what's the point anyways? Because if you don't do it perfectly, it feels like there's no point to trying at all. Is this resonating with anyone? I would love to hear from you. And this is the cycle that feeds itself. And the harder you try to be perfect, the more stuck you actually feel. Because again, you are not perfect, you are human. So we want to break free and start letting go of this idea that you have to be perfect in order to make progress. And we want to start learning to show yourself the same grace and compassion that you likely so easily give to everyone else. So if you're a perfectionist, what you don't need is another diet. You think you need that, but that's not actually what you truly need in order to be successful. You don't need more restrictions, and you definitely don't need more guilt or shame about your food choices. What you do need is a completely different approach. We've talked about my LPC method, where we look at your lifestyle, your personality, and your culture. This is part of that personality aspect of, if you're resonating with being a perfectionist, we want to know that, and we want to tune into that and use that for your benefit, not your demise. Because yes, you as a perfectionist, you do need rules to follow. It makes you feel better. But there's a huge difference between blindly following rules someone else created, who, by the way, doesn't even know who you are, because you think they and or you believe there's something wrong with you, versus creating your own rules that are rooted in self-awareness, understanding, and compassion for how you actually operate. So let me give you an example of what this looks like. One of the biggest mindset shifts for a perfectionist is realizing that, yes, you thrive with structure, but not when the structure comes from shoulds. Why is this? Is because shoulds create pressure. And as a perfectionist, you likely already apply and have a standard for your life that creates a lot of pressure for you already. And so these shoulds create even more pressure. And as a perfectionist, you already put that pressure on yourself. And so it just creates this point where you just feel really suffocated by the pressure, and then you feel stuck, and then you don't actually move forward. Instead, we shift the focus to creating rules based on what actually supports you. For example, here's typically what we use as a rule. I need to eat at these specific times because this diet plan says I should do this in order to lose fat. Versus if we shift it to actually where you are creating the rules for yourself based on that awareness, based on that understanding, based on that compassion, the rule now becomes, I know my energy dips in the late afternoon, so I plan a snack when I get home to keep me feeling good and avoid a crash. See how it's very different? You're still creating rules, but the rules were created by you and by understanding and knowing who you are. Also, the first one really comes from that pressure and that rigid aspect. The other comes from self-awareness and actually works with your real life, right? The other plan, it doesn't know your real life. What if those eating times don't actually work for your work schedule? What if you don't have a break at that time? What if you're like all the what ifs? The second one takes your real life into consideration and applies the rules for your real life. That's how we want to build a plan that lasts and that actually works for you. This is also how we build consistency, and consistency is the only thing that gets us the results that you are looking for. So, if you've been stuck in this perfectionist dieting cycle, know this, it's not because you're broken. It's because the approach you've been sold doesn't actually work for how you're wired. And the best part is you can change it. What you need is the right support and guidance, someone to help you create a new narrative about your health so you can start speaking to yourself with more kindness and finally believe in what you're capable of, not thinking that you have to be perfect in order to achieve it. And I'll be diving much deeper into this work inside my new group coaching program, where I'm helping women break free from the idea that they have to be perfect and create the kind of ease and balance that strikes the perfect harmony between real life and real goals. Because remember, consistency always beats perfection. So if you're ready to learn how to make that your reality, check out the link in the show notes for all the details on my new group coaching program. Let's get you the support and the accountability that you deserve. Until next time, keep talking shit.